Welcome back to the Kwasi Arsenal channel. My name is Kwasi. Welcome back to a brand new video. Arsenal have permission from Sporting Lisbon to agree personal terms with Viktor Gyokerez as the two clubs get closer and closer to an agreement on a transfer for the Swedish international. Arsenal are very confident a deal can be done, and Sporting have no intention of standing in the way of this deal. We'll be diving into that story. However, it is not all green on the other side, as Nico Williams is demanding more than 250,000 a week. The Telegraph are reporting that Arsenal have to make the player one of the most paid alongside Rice, Odegaard and Kai Havertz if he's going to sign for us this summer. Now he earns around 165 at Atletico Bilbao. Arsenal have to increase that by 100,000. Talks are ongoing between us and the representatives of the player, but that is going to be a major problem. We'll be diving into that story as well. João Garcia, Arsenal have been told to pay 22 million for the player. However, Arsenal are waiting for the end of the campaign, as this price could go down to as low as 13 million if Espanyol get relegated. And we'll talk about Julian Timber as well. What is going to happen if he's around, because a lot of breaking stories confirming that Julian Timber is back. It was a slight knock, and it's going to be okay for the Real Madrid home and away ties. Let's dive into all that. Hit the like button in the comment box below. Let me know about the Nico Williams demand wages. Should we look elsewhere at a player like Lookman? Obviously, Lookman is going to be cheaper in terms of the transfer fee. Is going to be cheaper in terms of wages. Should we look there, or should we go and get Mikel Arteta's man, Nico Williams? Let's start off with that big story from hands of Ozil, who has actually confirmed that Arsenal have been granted permission from Sporting Lisbon to explore personal terms with the camp of Viktor Gyokerez. His agent, who is also a long-term friend of Mikel Arteta, will now discuss key factors in the player's side with Andrea Bata very, very soon. That is an exclusive story from hands of Ozil, one of the very reliable accounts when it comes to Arsenal news, one of the very reliable accounts when it comes to transfer speculation as well. Now, we know everything about Gyökeres and Arsenal. However, it has picked up some interest in the last few weeks. Andrea Bata is a big fan of the player, and that's where we see a lot of development on this deal. It was Šeško before, it was Cunha before, but now Andrea Bata is saying we need to go and get a serious striker, and Viktor Gyokerez is a serious striker as well. Now, if this is true, if this story is true, this means that Arsenal have had very good talks, positive talks with Sporting. And I remember reporting yesterday but one that positive talks had been held between Arsenal and Sporting Lisbon for Viktor Gyokerez. This deal is not at final stages. Arsenal could be done by any other club, but at least we have got some work done. We have talked to Sporting, and that is why Sporting is saying the terms and conditions of this deal are pretty clear. If you're willing to follow, if you're willing to follow through, there's no problem with that. You can go ahead and discuss personal terms. Now, multiple reports are saying that personal terms are not expected to be a big problem. The player would love to move to the Premier League, and the player would love to join Arsenal. So personal terms are not going to be a lot of a problem as the Nico Williams one that we'll talk about. He's not going to ask for 200,000 a week. Now, of course, as one of the most informed strikers in Europe, maybe his camp might want to take advantage. But I'm thinking 120 to 150,000 for the start. That's where the player could actually be earning at Arsenal, maybe for the first 2 years. And then if he does well, if he improves, then we can see him rise up to 200,000 or even 250,000. So we have permission to discuss personal terms with Viktor Gyokerez. We also have positive talks held with Sporting Lisbon. I think one of the things we know about Andrea Bata is how quickly he gets priority deals done. And it has been reported that Mikel Arteta wants all these signings before preseason. One of the problems we had last season or last summer is we signed players and they came in post preseason. Mikel Merino didn't have a preseason. Raheem Sterling didn't have a preseason. And Ricardo Calafiori, you can argue, didn't have a preseason or didn't have a good preseason as well. Obviously, that was down to the fact that we had the Euros in between the summer. But even if it wasn't that, it was just a chaotic transfer window from Arsenal. Like, it wasn't beautiful. It wasn't convincing at all. So Andre Bata wants to get these deals done before preseason. Mikel Arteta will have his players by the time we get into preseason, and that's one of the things that I really love about this. Now, I want to say this is a good deal, first and foremost, and Arsenal are trying to get it done quickly because they know, I mean, unless you're blind, a guy that has scored 80 goals across 2 seasons, that is a good deal. For less than 70 million euros, that is a very good deal. And I reckon Andre Bata is now trying to wrap this up. He's trying to, agree with Sporting, agree with, Viktor Gyokerez, and the other clubs going to come in and try and agree a deal. Possibly. It was reported that Manchester United and Manchester City were really on this deal, and that was reported by Florian Plettenberg. However, Manchester City signed Omar Mamouche, and Manchester United are not in position, as we hear, they're not in position to sign Viktor Gyokerez. They don't want to spend 70 million euros on him. They just want a guy that can come in and work with Rasmus Hojlund and also work with Joshua Zirkzee. So probably they're not going to be going for Viktor Gyokerez. That leaves Liverpool, that leaves maybe Chelsea, and a couple of other clubs like Tottenham that are really interested in getting a good forward and a good number 9 this summer. So let me know, do you think we're going to get it done? It's getting interesting as we move into April and May. More of the good transfer stories are going to be coming out. And you can see that some of the other players that we are linked with are kind of dying out. There are no big stories on Isak. There are very little big stories on Šeško. It is now focused on Gyökeres. It is now focused on Nico Williams. You can see that the transfer window for Arsenal is already taking shape. Some players that we thought, it's going to be a big deal this summer for us, they're not a big deal for us anymore. But let's talk about Nico Williams. Now, as I reported, that was yesterday. Thank you so much for watching that video. It really, really had a lot of traction. Nico Williams is on track of joining Arsenal if nothing changes. However, we have a problem. Now, we have passed the terms to agree with Viktor Gyokerez. We also have passed the terms to agree with Nico Williams. It's being reported by the Telegraph that Arsenal will have to put Nico Williams in their highest bracket of earners if they are to sign the winger this summer. The unique nature of Atletico Bilbao means that Williams already earns a huge salary. He already earns huge money at Atletico Bilbao at the moment, so there is no need for him to rush. He would require a more lucrative deal than most clubs would expect of a 22-year-old winger. And it doesn't end there. This deal has a lot more to it, and let's dive into it. So there was a successful meeting between the agent of the player and Andre Bata. Of course, nothing was agreed, but Bata was trying to understand what is it gonna take for us to get the deal done. What is it gonna take for Nico Williams to become an Arsenal player? And boy, oh boy, the conditions are quite expensive and lucrative. First and foremost, he wants £250,000 a week or more. At the moment, he's earning 165,000, and the Telegraph are not lying. That is a lot of money for a player who's just 22 years of age, and he's not Saka, he's not Musiala, he's not that guy. However good he is, however much we understand him, I actually expected that Arsenal would bring him in and give him something like 150,000, but he's already earning, as per 23-24, he's earning 165,000 pounds. Like, how are you going to convince that player to not take? I don't know. That's a lot of money already. It makes it very difficult. It makes it very, very hard for you to agree a deal with such a player. So the demands are 250k a week, and that means that, as the Telegraph have reported, he's gonna be up there with the likes of Odegaard, Rice, Kai Havertz, and the others. But Arsenal have more problems than that. These are the problems. First and foremost, more than ever before, our wage bill is huge. I mean, remember Arsenal where when we just gave players 100,000 as a maximum. Like, if you've done very well, we give you 100,000 per week, and that was the ceiling. You couldn't earn more than that. Many players left. Ashley Cole left, and we were angry. But that was one of the reasons. He wanted some increment, and Wenger said, no, we have a cap to what you can earn, and you can't earn more than that. And he went to Chelsea. Now, Arsenal, in recent years, have actually expanded their cap. We have actually done more in terms of paying players. We have more players, about 5 players, earning 200,000 at the club, and that is per week. And it's even going to get higher than that, right? You have the likes of Saka, who are going to get new contracts, Saliba, Gabriel, and these players are among the best performing players, if not the best performing players at the club. So by the time we finish renewing everyone's contracts, we might have around 10 players earning earning 200k and above at the club. That is where Arsenal are finding it difficult. That if you're bringing in Nico Williams at 250,000 and we are renewing players' contracts, players who are earning 150, 180, and they're also going to be moving into that region of 200 and 250, how are we going to be sustaining this? This is going to be a lot. So that is a problem. How does Andre Bata do that? And how does he get around that? That's not my job. That is his job. And that's why he earns top money and I earn pennies. Basically, that is the difference. So Arteta really wants him. And that is one of the conditions that are making this very difficult. If this was like any other deal, maybe say Mbeumo or let's say Lookman, Arsenal could easily say, listen, he's earning a lot of wages. He's going to cost 45 million, which has to be paid instantly. It's a bad deal for us. It's a crazy deal. Let's walk away. But this is a player that the manager has tracked for 2 years. This is a player that Arsenal have scouted for 2 years. If you want to get all the information, please read that article written by The Telegraph. It's very, very rich in information. But if you've tracked a player for 2 years, if you've looked at a player for 2 years, you don't just walk away from that. You don't just walk away like that. So for me, I have proposed a solution. And this is it. First and foremost, what Arsenal can do is let go of some players that are earning too much money. And this might be a difficult decision, but this way you say goodbye to maybe a Martinelli. This way you say goodbye to a Partey who is already leaving. And this is where you say goodbye to a player like Jorginho. Now, the advantage is that Jorginho and Partey will be replaced by one player, and that's Martin Zubimendi, and the rest of the other options to replace them are already in-house. Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, and the others. And then again, if you let go of a player like Gabriel Martinelli, you can raise some money for you to spend on Nico Williams, but also you can free up some space on the wage bill in order for Nico to come and occupy. That is one of the solutions we can do. The other solution is looking at alternatives. I mean, as I've already said, Ademola Lookman is on my brain, is on my head. I like Ademola Lookman. If Arsenal are really serious about Lookman, we can go and get that deal done. It's going to cost about 50 million or 60 million, and 60 million that can be spread apart, not paid at once. And also it's a player that you can pay about 150,000, and it's okay. It could rise in the future, but at the moment, I don't expect him to ask for 200k. I don't expect him to ask for 250k. And of course, if you sign him alongside Sané, it even makes more sense. Now, we have some good news as well, and that regards Gyökeres. Arsenal want him as their second choice goalkeeper. Mikel Arteta has been tracking him, and some groundwork has been done on the deal. The prices for Gyökeres have been revealed. There is a release clause, but it's not one, there are actually two. The first release clause says that if he stays up with Espanyol in La Liga, then Arsenal have to pay 22 million euros to sign him this summer. However, there is a catch. If they go down, if they're relegated, then the player is going to cost just 13 million euros. Now, never wish the worst on a fellow club, but if Espanyol go down, Arsenal pay 13 million euros, and we get one of the best second-choice goalkeepers, a player that Mikel Arteta loves, and a player that Mikel Arteta really appreciates. So, I mean, the player is already on track to join Arsenal. He wants the club. We are also told that there were talks between Andre Bata and the players' representatives this week as well. So let's wait and see and get more information. But finally, the good news, as you have seen on the channel already, if you've not, is that Julian Timber might be available for Real Madrid. This is the icing on the cake. Like, you can't lose Timber and lose Gabriel, right? And think you stand a chance. Gabriel's season is over. Too bad, but there's nothing for us to do. But Julian Timber might be the difference. I mean, playing out wide against Madrid really matters a lot. Like, your wide players are going to matter a lot. They're going to contribute a lot to that game. If they're trash, Madrid will show you shege. If they are good, you could stop Madrid. I mean, it's kind of a dream that's very, very difficult for us to wake up from. Madrid is a nightmare. They're a nightmare of a team. But with Julian Timber coming back, maybe we stand a chance, maybe we don't. But of course, after the Everton game, make sure you watch the preview for the Everton game. I know you guys don't watch previews. Please watch the preview. But after the Everton game, we shall dive into Madrid as we pray that we get something out of that game as well. I'll see you soon.